He was just the quiet gardener. When a young soldier laughed at his shooting advice, the old man didn't argue. He just pointed and said, "Breathe from here." That one phrase was about to expose a secret the nation's top brass had buried for decades. The Golden Years nursing home was a place of quiet endings and long-faded memories. Manicured lawns, polished floors, and the soft, steady rhythm of ticking clocks set the pace of life. For the residents, it was the last chapter. For Arthur, it was a place of determined silence. He was the gardener, a man in his late 70s with hands stained by the soil of countless seasons and a back bent from years of leaning over rose bushes. He spoke more to the hydrangeas than to the people, his presence as constant and as overlooked as the old oak tree in the main courtyard. That Saturday, the afternoon quiet was broken by a different kind of energy. Sergeant Leo Vance, barely 25, sharp and brimming with the unshakable confidence of youth, was visiting his grandmother. He was in his full dress uniform, an impressive sight for the other residents. His grandmother, Eleanor, watched from a porch swing, her eyes bright with pride, sitting beside his fiancée, Clara, a nurse at the facility. To entertain them, Leo had set up a small, safe air rifle range in a secluded part of the garden, aiming at a row of tin cans perched on a weathered wooden fence. "It's all about control, Grandma," Leo announced, his voice carrying across the lawn. He hit a can with a satisfying ping. "The army teaches you to master the weapon, to make it an extension of your will. It's a science." Arthur was nearby, on his knees, patiently tending to a patch of unruly lavender. He hadn't looked up, hadn't seemed to notice the impromptu performance. He just continued his work, the rhythmic snip-snip of his shears a soft counterpoint to the sharp pshusht of Leo's rifle. After a string of successful shots, Leo's confidence swelled. He started aiming faster, getting sloppier. He missed 3 shots in a row, letting out a frustrated sigh. It was only then that Arthur stopped. He rose to his feet, the movement slow and deliberate, and wiped his hands on his worn trousers. He walked over, his worn boots making little sound on the soft grass. He didn't look at the rifle. He looked at Leo's chest. "You're holding your breath in your shoulders," Arthur said, his voice raspy from disuse, yet clear. Leo turned, a flicker of annoyance clouding his face. He saw just an old man in a sweat-stained straw hat. "Excuse me?" "Your breath," Arthur repeated, pointing a dirt-caked finger toward Leo's diaphragm. "It's shallow. All your tension is up here." He gestured to Leo's shoulders. "You need to breathe from here, one slow breath out as you pull the trigger. Not before, not after. The shot should be part of the exhale." Leo couldn't help a condescending chuckle. "Thanks for the tip, Pops, but I think the United States Army gave me a pretty good handle on how to breathe." Arthur's expression didn't change. He didn't defend himself or offer another word. He just gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod, turned around and walked back to his lavender bushes as if the conversation had never happened. From the porch, Clara gave Leo a disapproving look. "That was a little rude, Leo." "He's a gardener, honey, not a drill sergeant," Leo whispered back, shaking his head with a smile. He raised the rifle again, aimed with his usual technique, and fired. He missed. Frustration and a prickle of embarrassment washed over him. He glanced at the old man who was now quietly humming to himself. The words echoed in his head. "Breathe from here." He let out a quiet sigh. "What's the harm? It can't get any worse." He closed his eyes for a second, shutting out the world. He took a deep, slow breath, consciously directing it not to his chest, but lower, feeling his belly expand. He opened his eyes, aimed, and as he began to exhale, his finger gently, almost weightlessly, squeezed the trigger. PSSSHTPING. The can didn't just fall. It flew backward, spinning wildly in the air, a perfect center shot that resonated with a pure, clean sound. Leo stared, stunned. It wasn't just a hit, it was a flawless, effortless shot, the kind you can't replicate by accident. He tried again. Deep breath, slow exhale, squeeze, ping. Another perfect shot, and another. He didn't miss again. He lowered the rifle slowly, his bravado vanishing like smoke, replaced by a deep, unsettling sense of awe. That wasn't a lucky guess. That night, long after leaving the nursing home, Leo couldn't let it go. The image of the old gardener, the sound of his raspy voice, the impossible perfection of the shots, it all circled in his mind. He sat at his laptop, the glow of the screen illuminating his focused face, and began to dig. He started with official military archives, searching for Arthur Hayes. The results were sparse, a service record confirming enlistment and a retirement date. Multiple commendations, all listed as classified. No photos, no deployment details. It was a digital dead end, a file scrubbed clean on purpose. He moved to unofficial channels, old military forums, forgotten blogs, the digital campfires where old soldiers told stories they weren't supposed to. He typed in a new search. Legendary marksman instructor plus Fort Benning. He waded through pages of rumors and folklore about a dozen different men. He was about to give up when he found a link to a self-published digital memoir from 2008. The author was a retired Tier 1 operator. The book was titled The Quiet Professionals. Leo downloaded the PDF and searched for a single word, ghost. He found it in Chapter 4. They called him the Ghost. He was a master sergeant at the advanced training grounds, but he was unlike any instructor we'd ever had. He never shouted. His uniform was always simple, no flash. He taught us that the rifle was just a tool. The real weapon was the space between your own heartbeats. One day, a cocky recruit from Texas was failing a high-stress drill, missing every shot. The Ghost walked up to him, the sun baking the dry earth around them. We all expected him to scream. Instead, he just stood there. "You think the target is your enemy, son?" "Sir, yes, sir." "You're wrong. Your enemy is the air in your own lungs, the noise in your own head." He pointed to the recruit's chest. "You're fighting yourself. Stop fighting." He then pointed to the recruit's diaphragm. "Breathe from here. Forget the target. Forget me. Just find the quiet. Find the exhale, and let the shot go with it." Leo finished the chapter, his own breathing shallow. The book described how the recruit, following the advice, proceeded to hit every target perfectly. The memoir ended with a chilling line. We never knew his real name. When he retired, they scrubbed his records. He trained the most lethal men in the world, and then he simply vanished. He just became a ghost. The next morning, Leo drove back to the nursing home. He didn't bring his rifle. He didn't wear his uniform. He found Arthur by the oak tree, patiently tending to its roots. "I read a book last night," Leo said quietly, "by a man you trained a long time ago. He wrote about an instructor they called the Ghost." Arthur didn't look up. He continued to work the soil around the tree's base, his knuckles white. "Some stories are best left in the past. He said you taught him the real enemy was the noise in his own head," Leo continued, his voice filled with a reverence that wasn't there the day before. "He said you taught him how to find the quiet." Arthur finally stopped. He used the tree to slowly push himself up, his back aching slightly. He looked at the massive ancient oak, its branches reaching for the sky like gnarled arms. "A weapon is a simple thing, son," he said, his voice steady and clear. "It only knows how to do one thing, to break things. I spent 30 years of my life teaching men to be perfect with that tool, and they were. They were the best." He paused, his gaze distant, lost in a memory only he could see. "But I got tired of watching what perfection breaks. I saw what the noise in their heads did to them long after the shooting stopped. I decided I wanted to spend the rest of my time helping things grow instead. He patted the thick, rough bark of the tree. This oak will be here long after we're gone. It provides shade for your grandmother. It asks for nothing in return. That's a better legacy, don't you think? Leo had no answer. He stood there in the quiet of the garden, a decorated soldier in the presence of a man who had walked away from it all. A man who had trained the legends but chose to be forgotten, finding more peace in a garden than in all the medals and accolades the world could offer. He had traded the echo of gunfire for the whisper of the wind through the leaves. Arthur picked up his watering can, its metal glinting in the morning sun. "The roses need me," he said, giving Leo a final, knowing nod. He walked away, his steps slow but sure, disappearing behind a row of vibrant, blooming rose bushes. Leo was left alone, with a lesson that no training manual, no drill sergeant, no army could ever provide. True strength isn't about the power to destroy, it's about the wisdom to build. And sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who teach us how to find the quiet